Welcome everyone remotely. We are just getting set up here. Give us a couple more minutes. This class, as classes go on, you'll want to screen share so you can see kind of what's on my monitor on your own computer. You're welcome to do that. The Zoom link is in the email and also in Canvas. But for tonight's class, you won't need to screen share. Actually, towards the end of class, we'll do a practice screen share for everyone. So if you want to join now, you can. If you want to wait, that's also fine. Audio test. Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me remotely? Yes, cool. Can someone, someone mind unmuting just so we can test the audio on this side?
I'm unmuted.
Beautiful. One second. Let me turn
Can you hear
this
me?
up a little bit. Okay.
I don't
Can
know
you try again? Just anyone say something?
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you. We can hear you guys. Perfect. Those who made it in person, congratulations for making it through the maze of Lemoyne and the connected buildings. Hopefully the signs were a little helpful.
They were.
You came up the hill, I think I wrote an essay on one of the signs of how to get to this room. All right, we will kick off at 5:40. Give everyone just 2 more minutes. If you are in person, connect to the guest Wi-Fi network. They'll text you a code. But you'll want to join the Wi-Fi for this class because we'll be doing a screen sharing test. If you guys have your laptops with you, great. We have to set up some privacy settings to allow the screen share to work. We'll be doing that a little bit later in class during all the setup stuff. So get connected to the Wi-Fi, sign into Canvas if you're not already signed in. If you don't have an account created yet, I sent an email out around 12:45, I think, today with all of the details of how to join in Canvas. And if you're having any issues signing in or creating multiple accounts, that's totally, unfortunately, normal. Canvas is really tricky to get all set up right. So we'll work on that through the second half of the class as well. Make sure you can get into anything. And if at any point you guys have questions, interrupt me. I am not a lecturer. I do not want to be up here for 3 hours straight just talking. So as questions pop up, just raise your hand, either virtually, I can see. There we go. That's better. If you have any questions, just raise your hand either virtually in Zoom or in person, and happy to answer any questions as they pop up. Okay, we ready to dive in? Yeah. For the Wi-Fi, if you connect to the Dolphin guest network, they'll text you a passcode. Before we dive in, Exona is our TA. She is our newest TA, joining us from cohort 4, fresh graduate from a couple weeks ago. A new tradition that we're doing is because all of the TAs have been through the program, this is a 24-week roller coaster, right? And we're just taking off at the beginning. But I thought it would be a good idea to have the TAs kind of share in their experiences, where they were at mentally, right? At week 1, what they were feeling, any tips that they may have at the beginning of the program. So Exona, I'm going to pass it over to you in case you have any insights that you would like to share or memories where you were at 24-week-ishes ago.
Well, oh boy, sorry.
So in the beginning of the first place, I was like I said, this is my first time. And I was like, I got myself into this. So eager to learn and to try something different. It was I worked in Syracuse School District for 3 years before joining the cohort, and I was also a server, so I was working 2 or 3 jobs at a time just to make ends meet. And I got injured and then I quit my jobs. So I was like, I need to change something. I needed a career path. And unfortunately, right before starting creating code, I applied to work in the city. So I started working in the city as a systems training assistant. So I trained in workforce Syracuse, city of Syracuse. I knew digital platforms, digital apps, anything. So I kind of learned to do kind of aligned with this course as well. I was super nervous. I second guessed everything that I knew and everything that and I thought I didn't know that I actually did know. And I know that so syndrome and time Max did help me with that. Because he showed me over time that I did know more than I led myself to believe that I didn't. You guys will feel that because it is new. It is something that for some of you who've never done this, it is something that you're going to feel, and that's okay. And one advice that I would give you is when you get an error, anytime you get an error, that's a plus. Never see it as a negative thing, because the more errors that you get, the closer you are to getting a resolution. So think of it that way with coding. Just embrace the whole entire process, embrace the program, take advantage of everything. Please, right after class or the next morning, if you have time, watch those videos, watch those recordings, because it will help solidify everything that you've learned in class the night prior or that night. And that's all the advice that I have. Best of luck. I know you're all going to do amazing things and great things, and we are literally all here to support you. I just got done, so anything that you ask me, I will probably, it's more fresh in my mind than the other TA, so please feel free to contact me, hit me up on Slack, and shoot me an email, whatever you guys need for this. Okay?
Hello. And we're going to be going over Slack. We're going to be going over Canvas in a second. So no big deal if those are new tools to you. All of our TAs, I want to say we have about 10 of them are graduates of the program, whether that's literally a couple weeks ago or going all the way back to 2019. So they've been through what you guys are about to be going through. So if you have any questions, definitely lean on that. Quick class reminder, on Wednesday, Karen will be coming in and doing headshots. So completely optional. You guys don't have to have them done if you don't want to, but just a chance to get an updated professional photo for LinkedIn or for whatever other professional resources you might need. So if you want to dress up or do a little makeup, that's totally fine. If you don't want any headshots, that's also totally fine. Totally up to you guys. We'll kind of be doing that throughout class. So just a reminder for that. Okay, Canvas. Canvas first and foremost is going to be, yes. If you connect to the Dolphin guest network, a little window will pop up, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a registration link, and then you can get a code text to your cell phone. Okay. So Canvas, first and foremost, is going to be your #1 resource. This is where you're going to find all of the links for class for today. You're going to find links for one-on-ones. You're going to have all of your assignments in here. You're going to have links to resources. Canvas is outside of direct communication. Canvas is your go-to hub for everything in this class. Of course, I am not signed in because why would I be? That would make it way too easy. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay. This is your Canvas homepage. Chances are you'll only see one course here. That's totally normal. You want to go into Careers 5 here, as you guys are cohort 5. You're going to see C5 everywhere. That's what the C5 stands for. And then over on the left here, the first thing that we want to touch on is the module. So this is where we store all of our links. This section will grow and grow and grow over the course of the class. First link is to the Zoom classroom. That is going to be your go-to. If you go in through this link in Canvas, it won't ask you for the passcode. There is a 6-digit passcode on the room. If you need that, that should be in the email that went out today and also posted in Slack. If you do not have the Zoom app downloaded and installed into your applications, that's something that we'll be doing this class. And we will be going fully remote for week 3. The daily outlines, this is probably going to be your second most used link. This will be a massive, massive document by the time we are done with it. This is what I use for my slides. This is what I use to prep for class. This is totally shared with you guys. So the way class will typically run is we'll have some agenda, some reminders. We'll have an outline for what's happening for the day. And then the last about 10 minutes of class, we save for terms review. We're going to be throwing a bunch of new vocab your way. And so we kind of brainstorm in the last 5 to 10 minutes of class and say, hey, what terms did you hear? Let's come up with a definition. And then this is a very long document that you guys can go back and review if you are a vocab learner. I will also update the links to this day's class. So YouTube and transcript, that will be live updated by the following night's class. If you have not subscribed to us yet on YouTube, I would recommend that you do that. I have a bot that I built that takes these recordings and posts them directly to YouTube. So if you don't follow us on YouTube, we are Hack Upstate. That is the quickest way to get access to the videos. They will also be linked in here. And then use your sidebar over here, because like I said, this is going to be a massive document. So this is set up literally all the way down to week 24, day 4. That is September 27th or something like that, your graduation date. So definitely use this outline over on the side. It is possible to hide this, and then you'll see this little like menu icon over on the side. Pop that open and you can jump directly into whatever day we are working on. Other links in Canvas. Our schedule is here. We will also be linking to YouTube in here. This schedule has all of your TA information, who your instructors are going to be, dates, including vacation. So if you see anything in red, we do not have class that day. This has a whole breakdown of whether we are virtual or in person, what rooms we are in if we are in person, and then, like I said, the holidays. So 4th of July week, we do have off. It technically makes it a 25-week program because you get 24 weeks of instruction. You will see this spreadsheet populates out as class goes on and on, just like the daily outlines will. So if you have any questions about dates or can't remember what day we did something, this is a good one to review. And then the YouTube links will also be in here. So you will get to week 23 of the program and go, oh, wait, we did that in a project. We did that in like, I can't remember what day we did that. This spreadsheet is going to be your go-to resource for kind of going back in the time machine and figuring out, hey, where's that YouTube link? What day did we do that? In Canvas, we also have a 30-second feedback form. This 30-second feedback form is your chance to say, whoa, I did not get anything in class tonight. It went way too fast. I have no idea what's going on. Or is your chance to say, hey, this was great. Everything's going fantastic. Let's speed up. Let's go even faster. So this is a really quick form. You can leave it completely anonymous. You do not have to type a name in if you do not want to. 3 questions other than your name, right? How well did you get the topics tonight? How was the speed of class? And do you have any notes for us? This is not your typical college class. You're not going to get to the end and fill out an instructor feedback form. At that point, it is way too late to benefit you guys, right? So this 30-second feedback form, you can fill out every night. You can fill out at the end of the week. We do ask that you do roughly 1 a week or every other week, just so we know, hey, how's the class going? How's the speed going, right? We are going to go fast. It is a boot camp, but there is such a thing as too fast. We will hit that point where things aren't sinking in, right? And we need to change it. So this is not something that we look at in September and go, oh, this is good feedback. This is something that I get an email alert every single time that it's filled out. And I will take the feedback from this form and incorporate it into the next night's class. So if you're really struggling on a concept and you're like, man, I really wish we had 15 minutes tomorrow just to re-review whatever that concept is, this is your form to fill out, right? We will be posting reminders kind of throughout the course of, hey, this feedback form is here, fill it out. But this is always accessible to you in Canvas under this 30-second feedback form. So again, you could do this daily if you wanted to. Weekly is also totally fine, but just so we have feedback from you guys, we do appreciate you filling it out at least once a week or every other week. This is probably one of the cornerstones of our program, our one-on-ones. First week, you're going to go, yeah, okay, I'm getting this. This is all making sense. Week 2, we start writing code. We start getting into HTML. We start working with syntax, and you're going to be in a whole new world for some of you. That's totally fine. This is your opportunity to get help. We've got some of our TAs listed in the second half, and then some of our instructors listed in that first half. So it is as simple as clicking on my link. This is going to take you directly into my Calendly. Calendly is how you can book with me. So you can say, hey, I got a quick question. I just need a couple minutes with you. You pick whatever meeting length you would like. That's going to take you into the calendar. And this is really going to let you pick whatever time works best for you guys. Of course, my window does not want to be sized on these so you guys can see it. There we go. You can pick whatever day. You cannot pick times for the current day, but anything coming up, you'll see there are even weekend times available. You can click in on any one of those days, pick the best time slot that works for you. You'll see a really easy form to fill out, name, email, purpose of the meeting, and then optionally, you can put in your cell phone number there if you want a reminder. You don't have to put your number in there, but if you do, you will get a text message reminder in addition to an email reminder a day before and 1 hour before the meeting. If you guys are not calendar users yet, you will be. Trust me, you will not survive as a programmer in the work world without running a digital calendar. So we're going to touch on that tonight. It may be a complete overview for you guys, but these one-on-ones are really your opportunity to get the individual attention, but it's up to you guys to reach out for that, right? It's up to you guys to say, hey, I need help. Can you meet with me at this time? So when you book this, you'll get an email with a one-click button to add it to your calendar and a Zoom link. It is not the Zoom link that we use for class. It will be a unique Zoom link for every appointment that you book. So make sure you hold on to that email and you jump into Zoom because we won't be calling you for your one-on-one. We do everything over Zoom because we can screen share and even remotely control your computer. And that's what we'll be setting up tonight to make sure that you can really get that help that you need virtually. I can only talk to myself, speak for myself here. But if you are someone who really does better in person, if you're someone who just wants to meet up at a coffee shop, shoot me a message in Slack and say, hey, I know I can book virtually with you on your Calendly, but I'm really an in-person learner. Can we meet at a coffee shop or a library? Or that's totally fine. We can make those arrangements. However, you will find that virtually, and this has been our experience through almost all of our cohorts, that virtually you can get that same level of help that you can get in person. So give the virtual ones a try. If you're like, man, this isn't really working out, reach out to me. We can meet in person. Or sometimes you may realize, you know what? I just don't get Max's teaching style. I'm following along in class, but when I need help, I'm not really connecting to Max. That's totally okay. We have this entire spreadsheet here of other instructors and TAs. So as you're going along in the class, you'll get to know more and more of these TAs, and you can book with them directly on this spreadsheet. Any questions so far about any of this? And that goes for virtually as well. Okay. I know most of this stuff is probably self-explanatory, almost through the end here. I touched on capstones a little bit at kickoff. This is the capstone project requirements document. So if you are curious about what a capstone is, what you're going to need to do for it, if you already have project ideas, read through this document on your own time. We'll be coming back to this around week 4 or 5 and going through this document in detail. So you can kind of push this off to the side, but if you're really curious, if you have a capstone idea already, feel free to dive into this document. It is already linked. Otherwise, we'll be coming back to that one later in the cohort. Stipend information. We are currently in the process of getting your debit card set up. You will get $600 over the course of the program to spend wherever you can use a MasterCard debit card. You can do online orders at Amazon. You can get gas if you need it. You can get pay your utility bills. I do have a couple things linked in here about some common uses. A lot of students struggle with the trackpad when they first get started on their laptops. And when they buy an external mouse, that's kind of unlocks them and really gets them going on their Mac. This is a really high-end model that I recommend. It is pricey, but I don't know a single student who has regretted buying that. It is a great option. Some people like to get external keyboards or USB-C hubs so they can plug more stuff into their computers. These cards will be available to you sometime in May. We're working out the final logistics of it. And then the way it works is there is some eligibility. So attendance and engagement is one piece, quizzes, required projects, which I'll touch on in 1 second, and then optional assignments for extra credit. You need an 80% grade or above. And if you have that 80% grade at that point in the program, you'll be eligible for that $100 monthly disbursement onto the card. You don't need to use it that month. You can bank up your money if you want to do like a larger purchase. That will come out every month, and then you just have to spend that disbursement amount before the end of the program. More details on that. Jason administers most of this program. We are partnering with a new company called PEX, PEXcard.com. And that's how we'll be mailing the cards directly to you. If you have an address change or would like your card mailed to a different address from your application, and I have not already reached out to you on Slack, please see me before the end of class. We'll be mailing out the cards to you. We're putting in the order probably tomorrow, and then your first $100 will be available sometime in middle of March, maybe a little bit sooner than that. So if you have an address change, definitely come up to see me or shoot me a message in Slack, and we can make sure that that gets updated. Or if you want to just verify whatever address you put on your application is still your current address, that's also totally fine. See me before the end of class, we can get you set up there. Okay. And this document, read through it at your own leisure. If you have any questions, reach out to me or Jason. Jason is the one who manages dispersing the funds onto that card. Okay, almost across the finish line here. Last document is a newer document that we just put together today. So if there is a typo in it, let me know. Definitely get that fixed. We are all human. Couple options for physical locations to attend class. The next 2 weeks we've got set up here at Lemoyne, and then we will go fully virtual. We find the vast majority of our students prefer to attend class virtually than they do in person. However, everyone learns a little different, and it's nice to build that community, right, of being in person. So there are a couple options for attending class even on virtual weeks. I've listed out 5 libraries there. Those are libraries that are open until at least 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So if you want to attend class there, you can. I also highly recommend getting a Onondaga County library card. I believe all of you are Onondaga County residents except for one of you. So if you are a resident, I really recommend that because you get LinkedIn Learning for free. LinkedIn Learning is like YouTube, except all done by professionals. Really great resource for not only boosting what you are learning throughout class, but also having a resource to go to for continuing education after the program. So it's not a requirement that you get that library card, but it is free. You just need to go into any location. I think you need driver's license or 2 proofs of address. There are more details that I do have linked in that document. But those are the 5 branches that are open Monday through Thursday, at least to 8:30. Yes.
That's something I would highly suggest because do that, because there are videos on there and you can watch, to get ahead of the course, of the program as well. They are very informative and the videos are broken down into different sections or different video parts. And there are some great courses that hundreds of thousands of people have watched. So I would, if you want to get ahead of the program and want to get a little bit of a better understanding of what you're doing in class or prior to that section of the program, then I would suggest that you definitely go get a library card. And again, this is a $240 free service that you're getting, all because you were on your library card.
Yes, it is great. And everyone's going to learn a little differently, right? Yes.
Onondaga County, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Any library in Onondaga County is linked through the same system. So even though if you click on that link, it will say Onondaga County, but if it's a library, if you have a library card from any of the locations in the county, you'll be able to get into LinkedIn Learning. And again, that's a free card. Once you get it set up, it's really easy to get in. It is tricky sometimes to find the link to get into LinkedIn Learning. So I have linked it right in that second line of this paragraph if you're trying to get in. Everyone learns a little differently, right? And we're going to be giving you resources. I'm going to go over that in 1 second in Canvas of different ways you can learn. You won't make it through this course with 12 hours of class alone, right? 12 hours of class a week alone. We have linked a bunch of resources, and I'm going to show you that in 1 second. But if you find one where you get your light bulb moment, and trust me, you will be having light bulb moments throughout this program. You may be looking at me, you may be drooling for 3 hours in class, and all of a sudden someone's going to say something, and you're going to be like, oh, that's what he's been trying to say for the past 3 hours, right? Share those moments with your fellow students. That is totally a motivator for each other, right? To know what those, when you're getting those other light bulb moments. But if you're getting light bulb moments from other resources and you're like, man, I really think my fellow students would benefit from this being shared, shoot me a message or put it in the Slack back channel, right? Send it out to your fellow students or send it to me and I'll update the resources in Canvas and share that with everyone else. With all of that said, for other than libraries, we will be attending Open Hack on Thursday. Open Hack is an event open to the public. It is a bunch of developers and technology professionals all based in the Syracuse area, hanging out, eating pizza, drinking a beer. If you are of age and are into that, there's no pressure there. It is a networking event. There is a crazy statistic that I always forget off the top of my head, but it's more than 80% of jobs come from networking. That means that when you finish this program, chances are you'll be getting a job based off of who you know. And that isn't necessarily limited to friends and family members. That may be through the Erie 21 program right here at Lemoyne. That may be through a job posting of someone coming to Hack Upstate and saying, hey, we have this opportunity. Can you send us some students that might be interested in this? That may be just talking to people over at Open Hack and them getting to know you. So on Thursday, we won't be here. We won't be on Lemoyne's campus. We will be at Common Space downtown. The address for that used to be 201 East Jefferson Street. It's moved right around the corner. But all those details are linked in this Common Space link. We do have money allocated in our budget for sponsoring memberships to a co-working space. So on Thursday, get 15 minutes off, arrive at 5:45 instead of 5:30. If you're there at 5:45, we will do a quick 15-minute tour of the venue. So we'll walk through, you'll be able to get a vibe check of everything down there. And then we'll be sending out a survey on Thursday to fill out over the weekend. Basically, would you be interested in a membership? Would you use the membership? And then, you know, how you'll see on the survey, it's like a scale of 1 to 3, how much would you really benefit from this membership? We don't have the funds, unfortunately, to sponsor everyone to get a 24-hour membership, but we found a way to make that work every cohort. And basically, once you get a membership, you can just tap your phone on the reader. You go in, it's 24-hour access, and you can use it as your own office space. So that will become more clear on Thursday. We'll be giving that little tour. But if you can make it in person, try to make it 5:45 Thursday, common space work. That is downtown. It's like 2 blocks up from the Tech Garden, 1 block over from Landmark Theater. The parking garage was just condemned next to Syracuse Coworks or to common space. So I do not recommend parking in there. That is all barricaded off. But there is plenty of street parking down there. So you can park on the street. I think the meters say they go until 6, but normally they stop checking at like 5 or 5:30. So don't need to worry about that. Or even earlier.
Yeah, they stopped checking.
Yeah. The signs say 6. Yes, the signs say 6, but yeah, I everything I have heard is basically after 5, you're fine on
They
the
all
meter.
go home. City workers. Yeah, they all go home. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard at one point before the pandemic, they had like 1 lurking person out, and then they stopped doing that at some point. So,
Workday that's a 5 for everyone in the city.
couple coffee shops that we really like. Cafe Kubal has 5 different locations. They are small, they are local, they have been longtime sponsors of Hack Upstate. So we encourage you to frequent there. Recess Coffee is another great small coffee shop. Both roast over in the Eastwood area, so you get super fresh coffee. All of the Cafe Kubals have a different vibe in them. So I really like working out of there if you're looking to get out of the house. And then the Dunkin' in Liverpool has a community room. So if you guys want to organize in the Slack back channel and say like, hey, anyone free Saturday morning, just hang out, code, work on the assignments. The community room in the Dunkin' Liverpool is a great option for that. I'm not sure if they charge for it, but if you give them a call, you can book that in advance. Or if you end up getting a common space membership, only one of you needs the membership to let the other people in. So that's also a great option for meeting up in person. And if you find a spot that you really love, shoot me a message in Slack. This is a living document, so we like to update this guide. But lots of great places to meet up if you are someone who works better in person or getting outside of your house. I am normally totally a hermit. I love working virtually. I worked virtually before the pandemic. We've taught cohorts completely remote without anything in person, so we know it definitely can be done. But with that said, everyone learns a little differently or benefits from different environments. So here are some suggestions, take it or leave it. And if there are anything to add to the guide, definitely let me know. Any questions on that?
So you said, sorry, you said come in 5:30 on.
5:45 on Thursday.
Did you say come in
15 minutes early for open hack. Open hack starts at 6.
6?
And I don't know if I did link to it. So in the daily outline for today, which is under the modules and the C5 daily outlines, there is a link to open hack and to common space. If you guys can go to that meetup link and RSVP, it's free to RSVP. There's no obligation. So if you end up not being able to make it, it's no big deal. But Mike Vormwald is the organizer for that. Excuse me. And it just gives him a better gauge of basically how many pizzas to order. So I recommend RSVPing to that on OpenHack. We will not be meeting on Thursday. For everyone virtual, if you can make it, that is great. We would love to see you there. It's a great opportunity to socialize, but we won't be taking attendance. So it's no big deal if you can't make it in person. Not a big deal.
How long was that? Was it like 3 hours?
It normally goes to 8 o'clock-ish, but actually don't know. It's listed until 9 here. I don't think it's ever gone until 9 o'clock because it's a social event. If you check it out, if you talk to people, if you're like, all right, I've done my thing here, I'm ready to leave. That's totally fine. You can leave early. But there will be some people who are there until like 8 or 8:30. Kind of up to you whenever you want to leave. It will go for at least an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Where is the headshot location?
That will be here during class. And we'll just have that kind of set up in the corner of the room. And then you guys can just like rotate through to get your headshots if you want them. And if you have one that you use or don't want a photo taken, that's also totally fine. We do it on a green screen background, so if you want to get fancy and like swap out your backgrounds, you can. But Karen will be coming in. Karen's a cohort 1 graduate, TA and program manager for the program. And so she'll be coming in and have like set up and get a nice headshot for everyone.
What time is that?
It will be during class. So we'll kind of just rotate through on that, but it will be between 5:30 and 8:30.
So what we gonna do, just, go over there?
At 5:45, we'll do a tour. We'll kind of walk through the area. You'll get a better vibe. And then 6 o'clock, it will be open hack and it will be right in that same venue.
Are we gonna make-
No, well, you can. If you want to bring your laptop, you can. It is more of a social event, so it's about talking to people and but a lot of people will say like, hey, I brought this project, this is what I'm working on. If anyone has any insights or has done a project in this before. And so basically the way it runs is it's a big, everyone circles up at the front of the room. And you go around and you introduce yourself. So you'll say your name, that you're a careers in code student, and then kind of why you got into coding or what you're hoping to learn, or something to give someone a vibe of why you're there or what you're hoping to get out of the night. And then everyone kind of scatters and you get to jump around and talk to people. And if that sounds extremely nerve-wracking, don't worry. Everyone there is to socialize. No one bites. Everyone is very friendly. And they've all been through, they've all networked with careers in code graduates before. There will also be a fair number of careers in code graduates there that you can talk to, learn about what they are doing now that they're out of the program, get any advice from them, all of that kind of stuff. So the reason why we take a night off of class is because of that statistic, because so many jobs do come from networking, that it's a great opportunity to kind of break that social barrier and talk to other fellow developers that are in the field. Any other questions?
When will we?
We will send out the survey Thursday or Friday of this week. We'll give everyone the weekend to get it done and make it due like Sunday night. It normally takes us about a week or two to process the memberships, and then you should have it by the end of the month. Rough timeline there, give or take a little bit. Could be sooner, could be later, but that should be by the end of the month. We should have that set out. The other thing, depending on what the responses are on the form, we've also done like a 50% sponsorship. So the memberships are $125 or $150 a month. So depending on what the demand is, we may ask you guys to pay for half of it and we'll pay for the other half. But all of that will become more clear on the survey. And it's not like you'll just randomly get a bill. We'll work with all of you guys to figure out who wants membership and how we can help make that more affordable. Any questions remotely either?
I just wanted to say I posted a couple links on the chat regarding following the YouTube channel, 30-second feedback, and the open mic as well.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, I realized I should specify there. The number one skill that you guys can learn from this class is communication. The second one is organization. We are going to be working with quite literally hundreds of thousands of files over the next 24 weeks. Organization is very, very, very important. The number of times I've gotten on someone's computer and they have capstone, capstone 2, capstone copy, capstone 2 copy, capstone this time for real. No, this is the final one. And then I go to help them and they're like, well, I got it half working here. And then wait, this one doesn't have it. Is it this one? No, I'm lost on that one. Organization is your friend. So during class, starting next week, we'll be diving into code. We follow a WDA system. The A system may actually be revised, but we break everything down by week number and day number. So if you see W2D3, you know that that class was in the second week of the program on a Wednesday, right? If we take a day off of class, we skip that day entirely and we go to day 2. That is how we organize all of our code. And in fact, I can show you the code from last cohort. We have everything broken down into the week number. When you go into any of the week numbers, you will see the day numbers. And then inside those day numbers, you can see the files that we create. On week 2, you can see we start nice and easy with 2 files. By the time we get up to week 20, we have the back end, we've got the front end. Our node modules, you can see, is quite a lengthy list of folders. We have subfolders in here. This is not meant to intimidate you. This is just to say that organization is very, very important. So if you see me naming things W something and D something, that is all for the date code. That will correspond to your files along with anything in the outline. So you can see week 1, day 1 through 4. That's all coded in there. And you will also see in our schedule that it is all broken down into week numbers at the top. And then the day numbers, basically our date codes are all there. So it should be a pretty self-explanatory system. If you are someone who organizes better by projects or by names, or you can try your own organization system, but trust me, I really recommend following dating everything by the week and the day. The other benefit of this is we will be doing projects that span several days. By the time you get to the end of that project, you may want to go through and reference that code, and you have no idea what you're looking at because you wrote so many lines of code, you have no idea where to even start. What we will do is move our projects kind of throughout the days so that when you go back to reference this code, you'll actually be able to look at week 9, day 1 and say, all right, this is what we accomplished on the first day. This is what we accomplished on the second day. And that will make it easier to kind of see over time how the project has progressed, make it a little bit easier to go back and reference that code. Don't worry, we'll be going through all those file organization steps in the beginning. The first couple weeks of the program are going to be rocky. There are some people who have never used a Mac before. There are some people who are getting comfortable to a trackpad. There are some people who I'm going to ask you to type a letter on your keyboard and you literally won't know where that symbol is on your keyboard. That is okay. That is all normal. That is all part of the program. Some of you may want to drink throughout class. I encourage you not to do that, but we will make it through. And by the time we make it to week 3 or 4, we're really trucking. All of a sudden, we're getting more of those lipo moments. We kind of net out of the bottom of the pack is catching up. The top of the pack is helping the bottom of the pack catch up. And all of a sudden, we really do pick up. So that is something that I will warn you. Trust me, after the first week, we get into code. It's always a little bumpy. There's always a learning curve on the Mac. That is okay. That happens. Don't worry about it. We will catch up. We will get back up to speed.
The terminal will get everyone.
The terminal will get everyone. We have modified our curriculum several times to kind of space out the terminal. And we do spend a couple days on learning all of those concepts. We are project-based curriculum here, right? There is very little slides, especially with my teaching. It is dive right into the deep end. We build something, we go back through, we make sure we understand that thing, we move on to the next project. So I will show you a couple of resources. If you are not a project-based learner, if you are someone who wants to know all of the terms and know everything before you touch a line or try it yourself, I'm going to show you some resources that you have as an option. I'm going to pause here for 1 second. Does anyone have questions on all of the resources available to you in Canvas so far? Okay. Moving on to everyone's favorite, assignments.
I was gonna.
So assignments are, we're trying something new this cohort. Last cohort, we did a weekly homework assignment, and between juggling your capstones, some of you guys are full-time parents or working full-time jobs. We know what the demand is, right, of adding another thing of signing on to this class. So we have everything kind of broken out. You will find there are required projects and they come only every couple of weeks. These are your most important thing next to attendance for this class. So this is your chance to show, hey, I'm getting it, right? If you're struggling on these assignments, it is the #1 indicator of, hey, I got to put more time into this, or the way I'm investing my time into the program isn't quite right. I need to change something up. So these required projects, like I said, they'll come once every couple weeks. The first week we have some pre-reading. This is on Free Code Camp and imposter syndrome. And then it's a really easy question of what's something you learned from these articles. That will be your easiest required project throughout the whole time. One of my favorite projects is week 12. That seems like an eternity away. You will have zero clue how to accomplish any of this. You probably won't even know what the terms are in that homework assignment yet. That is okay. The due dates are in there. All of the due dates should be Sunday at 11:59, so right before midnight. We do accept late assignments without a penalty, but really try and get it in by that due date. And you can use one-on-ones for this. So if you're struggling on the homework and you really need some help, schedule a one-on-one. We can help you through this. That is your first required homework section, and all the due dates are already in there. And we will continue loading that out so you can see what's coming up in advance.
So it has to be done this week.
The pre-reading has to be done this Sunday at 11:59, but it will probably only take you about 15 minutes to do that assignment. Don't get used to that. It will start taking longer for that.
So we can just like after that stuff, we can start paying for.
Yes, yes. We also have quizzes. We will have quizzes probably every week. There may be a couple weeks that we don't. If you don't see a quiz for that week, don't panic. It's not required. Quizzes are 5 questions only. They are a mix of multiple choice and like right in the blank. Please do not write us an essay. 3 sentences is probably more than enough for those questions. Some of them are multiple choice. I will say that there will be content in those quizzes that we teach on Thursday. So don't do that quiz too far in advance. I would say 15 minutes, Exona, for quizzes.
Yeah,
Doesn't take long. Some of them will be all multiple choice. Sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 like sentence ones. Like I said, we are not going for an essay here. So these quizzes are also open book. So you're welcome to use any resources that we use in class. You're welcome to Google it. Really should be quick for you in there.
As many times as you want. Just so that you know. you understand the questions and the answers to them. I just do like 5 or 10 periods first. Get that one.
Okay, and then the last section in here is your optional assignments. So this may sound weird to make these optional. These are all of the resources that are either going to give you an opportunity to say, hey, do I really understand what I learned in class?
So where is that?
In assignments, it should be under optional assignments. Just scroll down a little.
We don't have. It only says upcoming assignment.
On the side, you gotta click show by type. Top right side.
Show by time.
For that bottom chart.
I'm seeing, it's all right.
Did I got a student view.
They might have changed.
Oh, okay.
But-
So right here, they're set by show by date. But the optional assignments won't show up here because they aren't assigned a date. So if you go, actually, they will show up here, but they're kind of mixed in. This is a very bad interface. So like this week 2 pre-reading is totally an optional assignment. And there's no way you would know that. Great. I will fix that tonight. However, if you go up here and click on the show by type, that will break it down and show you which assignments are optional. So what I'll do is I'll rename these. I'll put RP in the beginning of this for required project. And then down here, I'll put OA for optional assignment in the front of the name, just so you guys will very clearly know what's required and what's optional. But if you go to this show by type, that will make it a little bit easier to tell what's grouped into the required, where the quizzes are, and what the optional assignments are. So you will see that there's pre-reading in here. This pre-reading would probably take you 4 weeks to, if you wanted to read all of those. You don't have to do that. What you will find is that there are different styles of resources that will click with you. So pop open all of these links, spend 2 minutes on all of them and just say, do I get this? Is this helping me? If it's not, don't use it, right? If you pop open this cheat sheet, there's a more of a visual, right? If you're someone who likes a printout, if you're someone who likes having something by your side, this may be super helpful for you. This probably will make no sense to you until the end of week 2. That's totally fine. If you are someone who likes slide decks, here is a bunch of slides going all the way back from the first cohort that we go through and use slides there. If you're not a slides person and you like websites, if you're someone who likes to click around, here are all of these resources that are available to you. W3 Schools is a website you'll learn to hate because we'll be referencing that all the time for documentation. So there's a ton of resources in here. These pre-readings are optional. And they have 0 points. So if you don't submit anything, it won't affect your grade. However, if you have a light bulb moment, if you have something that you're like, I did this reading, I want to get proof for it, like this made a ton of sense to me, I want to share it, you can submit this homework assignment and you'll get extra credit on your grade. So there is pre-readings in here. There are optional assignments. So this will make more sense on Wednesday after Wednesday's class. But if you want to do this, you can hit the start assignment button. You can upload your wireframes, which we're going to be learning about on Wednesday, and go from there. So this is really your opportunity to say, hey, I don't want this class to kind of pass me by. Am I really getting it? Is this really sinking in? Do I really have the skills that are being taught? That's what these optional assignments are for, as well as the pre-readings. When you're like, whoa, we're going way too fast and not really getting that, all these resources will be inside those optional assignments.
That's good for the-
What's that?
I saw your. Yeah. That's just like example. Right?
That's just an example. We will be building that portfolio later in the curriculum. So this is all loaded up to week 12. This takes us to 4th of July. break, we will be obviously loading a lot more into that. But that is all of the links that you guys really need to be concerned about so far in Canvas. I know that's a lot. I know that's all super boring. We are going to move on to something more fun. But does anyone have any questions so far? Yeah.
So for the quizzes, you said we should probably hold off to later on. Take them.
Yes. I would recommend waiting until the end of Thursday's class. I don't want to call it cheating because it's an open book test. You could always Google it to find the answer if you wanted to take the quiz earlier, and you can always retake it. But because it's only about 15 minutes, I would recommend waiting until Friday or the weekend to do that, because the quizzes can include content of Thursday's class. Any other questions? 80% is your threshold. So other than optional assignments, between attendance and class participation, your required projects and your quizzes, that will be what your grade is based on. 80% or higher gets you $100 at the end of the month onto your stipend cards. Okay. Rolling along here. Zoom, VS Code, Slack. I'm going to come back to that. Let's dive into the fun stuff. Just put this down before I forget. All right, this is where remotely we want you guys to participate in this as much as possible. So we've heard about the alphabet soup, right? We've heard these letters, HTML and JS and CSS, and we may have heard of these different frameworks and tools. We may have even spelled frameworks wrong, hypothetically. Okay, that's fixed. This is a brainstorming activity. What are some languages, some frameworks, some tools, some things that you've heard in the industry? You don't have to know what it stands for. You don't have to know what it's used for. But what are some names that you've heard that are related to programming that might be helpful? Come on, Cameron, you can do it. There we go. JavaScript. Node. React. Great. Thank you for not thinking Java and JavaScript are the same. Yes, Java. No, bad. Google Sheets. There we go. Python.
Where DevOps comes.
Sure. C++. C#.
C.
Yep. Homebrew. Sure. I love it. A new one.
Terminal.
Terminal. HTML. CSS, I missed. Attributes. Got it.
Firebase.
There are languages you may have heard a programmer use, or some tools that you may have heard about in programming or
Hex code?
VS Code, hex code.
PyCharm.
Python, I think we got already.
I said PyCharm.
Oh, PyCharm, yep. It's a good one. Sure. Let's go Raspberry. I feel like that looks fun. Right, okay. Sure. Which also brings us to Ruby. We've got Tim Berners-Lee in the chat. I would not be here without him.
What is that?
We'll come back to it. What else? The cloud? React?
We have
Absolutely. Yep. We have that. Sure. Variables? Function?
arrow functions.
We'll leave
The
it
same
there.
thing. It's not the same.
What were,
Arrow functions.
uh,
Or they-
that's like a subset, not exactly the same thing, but close. What else? Ooh, love it. Ew. Oh, excuse me, was that out loud? Sorry.
Well, I use them for me.
Attribute we have. Anything else? Sure. Continuous integration and continuous development. Come back to that one. Sure. Snapdragon. Sure, yeah. I think we got Node.
Yeah, SPSS?
Yep. Oh, CSS, sorry.
Sad.
Got it. GitHub, yeah, that's a good one.
Git.
Git. Oh. Other terms you guys may have heard of. Even if you have no idea what it is, what it's used for.
There's one that they should probably. They want to do it more nice. Trello.
Trello, love it. Anything else? And remotely, feel free to come off mute or, oh, I'm sorry, I'm behind in the chat, my bad. Linux, we got PowerShell and Bash. Kotlin,
Oh,
Lisp. Look up if that is spelled with an E. Yeah. Linux, we have
Express, yeah.
Express.
We have named.
All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed in you guys already. It's not a single one on the list that I don't know yet. Any curveballs out there? Normally there are like 3 or 4 where I'm like, ooh, I gotta look that one up. Visual Studio. Canvan?
It's ways to play sites.
Any other terms that you guys may have heard, may have been scared by, tried to learn? May someone know someone who writes in that? May have learned it through the pre-work to get into class. Free code camp, sure. Wooden? Anything else? Yo. Oh, thank you. E-scale, Miss I got, prologue I got, UI UX. Start, Golang. Or Studio. Let's go.
The language bar.
TIA.
Fighter.
All right. Jovial. All right, you got me. There are a couple I don't know. Anything else? Would you believe all of these, the 73 different things that I have on this list all fall into about 4 categories? The world of computing is confusing because you hear about all of these acronyms, all of these languages, and most of them all do the same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to start categorizing these out. We're going to come up with our list of terms, right? What categories do these fall into? Then we're going to run through the list. We might not get through all 73 of them, but we're going to run through the list and quickly categorize them to see how everything on this list eventually is going to fall into what you're going to be learning over the next 24 weeks. So let's get started with that. We're going to go actually over to our daily outline, and we're going to go to the term section. And if that is really tiny on your screen and you would like to follow along, you can head over to Canvas, and inside the, apparently I don't have access to my own Canvas. Inside cohort 5, under the modules, right here at the top is a link to the C5 daily outlines. If you are a bookmarks person, that is certainly worth bookmarking, because that is the link to this document, and that is what we will be using almost the entire cohort. Okay, so our terms. Instead of saving this till the end of class, we're going to jump into this right now. So first and foremost, the easiest place to start is the front end. Does anyone want to take a stab at what the front end is? Yes. What the user sees and interacts with. The pretty side. Okay, well, we got a front end. We also have a back end. And what's the back end do? Make it work. Give me more detail on that. Why do we need a back end?
Where all the data is accessed and saved.
Where the data is accessed and saved. And it really lets multiple users interact with our front ends. Okay, well, if we're talking about where all of our data is accessed and saved, where do we normally do that? The cloud, but what does the cloud run? What's the subset of where we store data on a computer?
Oh,
The database. Long-term user information storage makes saving and retrieving information easier. Okay, well, we've got all of that covered. And we're going through our list and we're like, all right, this is something that's either used in the front end or the back end or a database. We also could use it kind of right on our computers, right? Sometimes we aren't building a web application. Sometimes we are writing some code and it's just happening right on our computers. So we group that into kind of a desktop language, right? A program or script designed to run on your desktop PC or laptop. Okay, well, if we've got all of that, we also probably want to break this down because when we're looking at our list, we've got a bunch of different things, right? We could say that, yeah, this front end or back end, but there's additional categories on our list, right? We listed some operating systems, so that's one we should touch on. We listed some programming languages, so that's something that we should touch on. And we also have a, well, let's focus on those first, right? So an operating system, a foundation that allows multiple programs to run. Probably an oversimplification of what is millions of lines of code that make your computer go. But at the end of the day, what's the operating system doing? It's operating the programs, right? It's giving us a system to work off of. Well, we also have languages, right? Let's say this is a standard syntax for writing code. You have languages that can be in the front end, they can be in the back end, they can be a database language, right? They could be desktop, they can intersect with any of those. All right, well, we've got that going on. We also want to touch on two others. We're going to add frameworks to the list, and we're also going to add in developer tools and concepts. So what's a framework? Well, what's the framework of your house do? The structure, the support. It also makes it easier, right? So that we don't have to build a wall every single time. We can just put drywall up. Once you have the drywall up, you can keep going, right? We can build on that framework. So a framework is a tool that allows, makes it easier to build an application as a developer, right? Instead of having to do everything from scratch every single time, we start with this framework, this foundation, and then we can use those frameworks tools to build on top of it.
Or maybe like blocks of code that are pre-built.
Yep. All right, now we also have developer tools, right? Well, in order for us to build an application, we have some tools that we need to use to do that, right? Carpenters have their screwdrivers and their hammers and well, as developers, we need our own tools, right? So a developer tool is pieces of software that make it easier for developers to write their own code. And then finally, we've had some concepts, right? That's what we're going to be learning throughout the whole program. But there's more theoretical, right? So theories or definitions used throughout the software dev process. I'm going to add one more to the list, training tools. Resources we use to learn from. All right. We think we can apply these. We think we can test out our theory and see if everything we've got added is on this list. Give it a go. Let me see if I can juggle here to have both of them up at the same time. Okay, start at the top. JavaScript. Well, it's a language. Where is JavaScript used? Well, it's used in the front end, right? Because it works in the web browser. But we can also write JavaScript weirdly that works in the back end as well. It's kind of interesting. We'll be coming back to that concept around week 16. All right. So front end, back end, it's a language. It can be used on the desktop, but it usually isn't. Feeling pretty good about that. I think we can move on to the next one. Node. Spell language right, because if I don't, I'm screwed the whole time. Did I spell it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Node is primarily used in the back end. And it's not really a language because it uses JavaScript as a language. So it's mainly in the back end. Don't think it falls really into anything else, so we'll leave it there. What's React? React uses JavaScript, so it's not quite a language, it's a framework. It actually allows us to, the way I describe React is if HTML and JavaScript had a baby together, that's what React is. It kind of meshes the two languages together. We'll be learning React as soon as we get back from summer break. So React is a framework that we'll be learning weeks 13, 14, and 15, I believe. It does have its own syntax, which would kind of make it fall under a language, but we'll leave it as is for now. SQL, does anyone know what SQL stands for?
Oh,
Structured query language. It is pronounced SQL and SQL, S-E-Q-U-E-L. You never spell out S-E-Q-U-E-L, but you will hear it pronounced both ways as SQL or as SQL. So just so you know, those are the same thing. What do we use SQL for? Yep. And what is SQL? It's a language. All right, Vue.js. Vue.js is an alternative to React. It is one of the three major frameworks, and I should have put this in here. Both React and Vue are used on the front end. MongoDB, database. Biggest competitor to SQL. You have two types of databases. You have relational databases. All SQL databases are relational databases. And then you have Mongo, which is a non-relational database. Basically, the data doesn't tie together quite the same way. Okay, next up, we have Java. Language. And it is primarily used to build desktop applications or in the backend to run a server. Same goes for Python. It is a language. It can be used to build desktop, or it can be used to build a backend server.
Also, I think we can use Python.
not in a web application. If you could build a front end in Python, but that's kind of all lumping it under the desktop class. Because desktop has front end, but it's considered user interface. It's not really considered like HTML. So maybe I'll lump that in. Can have a user interface that can be interacted with. Okay, DevOps stands for Developer Operations. This is a concept, right? DevOps is what you'll be learning from Nathan Evans, who's one of our guest instructors. He'll be coming in week 5 or 6, and then also coming in week 22 at the end of the program. Nathan's going to teach you, hey, I got this code and it's working on my computer. How do I get it up on the internet? That's what DevOps is, right? Is taking where the developer finishes and operationalizing it, getting it up to the cloud, which is another concept. And the cloud typically is where you run your backend, right? The cloud is this thing that they advertised to consumers because consumers didn't want to learn about servers and firewalls and databases and all of these scary technical terms. So in order for our parents to understand all of this, they went, it just goes up to the cloud and the cloud takes care of everything. You guys will demystify the cloud over the course of this program, and you'll learn DevOps, which is the process of deploying to the cloud, managing the cloud, configuring the cloud, all of that kind of stuff. You'll learn AWS, Amazon Web Services, which runs a scary amount of the internet right next to Google, who owns all the infrastructure. So DevOps will be coming your way. And it is both front end and back end because you have to do both parts of it. So we'll leave that as is. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. So we are going to take a break. When we come back at 7:20, we will finish going through this list, and then we're going to switch over to making sure Zoom, VS Code, and Slack are all installed on your computers, that you're all in the channel, and that you can share your screen and have remote access taken over. Once you get those 3 steps done, we are done for class, and you guys can head out both virtually and in person. But when you guys come back 7:20, we'll finish running through this list. We'll make sure there's that your Zoom is set up properly, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening. When you come back, we will take attendance. Oh, that works too. Bathrooms, if you're in person, men's is on this floor. You go down, make a left, and it's right at that corner. Women's is the same spot, but the floor underneath us. So you want to go down to the steps on the right here, go down a floor, and then you'll find it there.
Matt,
Yes.
I'm not able to do all the running because I don't have my computer yet.
What's that?
I won't be able to do all the running because I don't have my computer yet.
That's fine. Let me switch you so you can hear me better. We won't start doing any coding until week 2. So everything we're doing in class tonight won't be anything code related.
Okay, yeah, I know that, but as far as sharing my screen and all that stuff, would you like me to do that with the system I'm on now, or?
No, that's fine. We'll just skip you, and we'll figure that out on either Wednesday's class or on Monday.
Okay, all right,
No problem. Thank you for the heads up.
no problem.
resume recording. Raspberry Pi is basically a mini computer. It literally fits in the palm of your hand. It has all of the components that a typical computer would have. Video output, CPU, RAM, all of that good stuff. Back in the day, you could get them for like $35 and they could do everything that you wanted. There was a huge hardware shortage of them now, and they cost like $200 for a $35 computer, which is ridiculous. But Raspberry Pi, just a specific type of hardware that can basically act as a server or as a computer, very popular in the education space. We don't touch too much on hardware, unfortunately, but it is definitely interesting. And if you want to go into that path, you totally can. Pi OS is an operating system. It is, I believe, Linux-based, as most operating systems are. Ruby on Rails is a framework that is used in the back end. It's kind of used in the front end as well, but very much primarily a back end. We will not be using Ruby on Rails. We will be using a framework called Express, and that will run on Node, just like Ruby is a language that can be used in the back end or can be used for desktop class applications. Tim Berners-Lee is a person. He invented the internet, basically, and that is his major claim to fame. He has been involved in all other all kinds of IEEE stuff, which is the standards body behind the internet. Basically, inventor of the internet. And then Linus Torvalds is probably the other very important person. He invented Linux, which runs 90% of all web servers and is running the operating system. Well, the Mac OS operating system is based off of Linux as well. So yeah, two important people there. Mac OS operating system, Linux operating system, variables, a concept in any programming language. Same goes for software development lifecycle. Windows OS, CI/CD is a concept for DevOps, and I guess the backend. Postgres, database, API, application programming interface. We will be learning not only how to use APIs, but how to build our own API. Application programming interface, exactly what it sounds like. Exactly what it sounds like. An interface, right? What we're interfacing with, what we're interacting with, that our program is using to interact with another application. So we use APIs to go get weather data. We get APIs to get the top bestsellers from the New York Times. We use APIs in our capstones so that our database can send information into our front end. So APIs are something that you'll spend 2 weeks with Ryan Goss on. That is your week 12 project and probably the most important project of the entire cohort, of the entire curriculum. So that is where it all comes together. That's where you take your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, all the computer science that you've learned up until that point, and you build something real, right? This is the first project that you build where you're like, I could show this to my parents. I could show this to my partner. This is kind of cool. That is your week 12 New York Times API. Definitely my favorite project of the cohort. Yes.
API for interactive map.
Absolutely. So Google Maps is probably one of the most used APIs. You can definitely use APIs. Yes. Yes. You also may hear about software development kits, SDKs. Those are similar to APIs in that they're pre-built software. However, we tend to use SDKs more with mobile apps than web applications. But APIs and SDKs kind of live in the same family. Other data, other pre-built information that we're able to include in. Snapdragon, I'm going to put in as hardware. That is the processor. Snapdragon is Samsung, I believe. Could be wrong about that. AMD. Samsung is Enos.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Intel, AMD, Apple is the biggest name in newer hardware for processors. All of your computers run on the M2 chip, by the way. That is called Apple Silicon. So if you're ever downloading an application and it says, do you want to download for macOS Intel or macOS Apple Silicon? You want the Apple Silicon because all of your computers have the M2 chips in them. I am going to skip out on the rest of these, but I will update this tonight after class. So if you are curious about, hey, I had one that I threw on the list and I don't really know where that falls under, I will update the rest of this just in the sake of trying to get you guys out of here a little earlier. So I will share, this spreadsheet is already linked in the daily outlines, but I'll drop a link in Slack at the end of the evening once I've got this list filled out in case you are curious on any of these. Any questions on any of that before we do one quick concept review and switch over to making sure all of your Zooms can screen share? Okay, so all of this is great. We got a lot of terms in here. We're starting to see, hey, we've heard of a lot of these languages. What are you guys learning, right? Well, that all comes into this tech stack. So we're going to start with the front end. Starting next week, we are going to start learning about the user experience. We will also be learning about the back end. That's kind of the data side, the API side, the interaction side of all of that. However, we won't be starting the back end until after React. So that is the second half of the class. It is almost split right down the middle between front end and back end throughout the curriculum. From there, in the web browser, we are going to learn 3 different languages. HTML, that's going to be our data structure. That's all of our content that shows up on the page. We're going to be learning CSS. That's our cascading style sheets. That's how we style everything that shows up on the page. And finally, we're going to be learning about our JavaScript, right? That's the interactive part of it. That's saying when the user clicks on this thing, what happens? Or that's saying, hey, I want this timer to tick down. How do we build a timer? That's all going to be in our JavaScript. Then we're going to move into React. React is a framework that makes it easier to not only build a website, but to build a web application. Web applications are becoming more and more common. Some web applications you probably use every day, Facebook, Instagram, anything that really has a database, anything that's taking user information, whether that's pictures or comments or anything like that, making it easier for you to interact with as a user. That's what draws the line between a website and a web app. So traditional website, think about your local restaurant that has a menu that's posted. There's no comments there, there's no reviews there. They just went in, they wrote some HTML, some CSS, maybe a little JavaScript, but not a lot of it. That's your website. A web app is whenever you cross that line of interactivity, whenever you have the user input, whenever you have a login system. That's what crosses the line. Now, that's not a very hard line. Sometimes there are websites that feel like websites that have a little bit of web interactivity in them. But React is a framework that makes it easier to build our web apps because we want to integrate data into it. So that's exactly at our halfway point is when we switch over to learning React. And from there, we start picking up speed on databases and APIs and all of that fun stuff. All of that is going to interact with our API server. We're going to be building our API server in Node.js, which is our server runtime environment. Fortunately, as the name implies, Node.js is written in JavaScript. So all of the syntax that we'll be learning for our JavaScript in the front end and in React, we'll be able to use that same syntax in Node.js and Express. We'll also have our database server that is, we'll be interacting with SQL. We use a database variant called Postgres. It's one of the 4 major SQL variants of SQL database servers, Microsoft SQL Server, or MS SQL, MySQL, Postgres, and Oracle SQL are the four major SQL databases. We happen to use Postgres, which is all open source. That means over the course of this program, once you get comfortable with your HTML syntax, or a little bit before then, we're going to teach you CSS, whole nother syntax to learn. Once you get through that CSS syntax, we throw you into JavaScript and we go, here's some computer science. This is a whole nother syntax to learn. Once we're done with that, we go, hey, what if we combine JavaScript and HTML? And then you learn React, which is a whole new syntax. Then we get to reuse that JavaScript syntax for our API servers, but you've got a fifth syntax to learn, which is SQL. So at the end of this, you will be able to say you are a full stack developer because you are able to use 5 different syntaxes to get the front end, the API server, and the database server to all talk to each other. The way they do that is with APIs. We will be learning about JSON or JavaScript object notation. And the way our backend and front end communicate, whether it's an API that we have made, which is what you'll be doing for your capstones, or a pre-made API like the New York Times or weather, they all communicate using a syntax called a JavaScript object notation, which all communicates over their API link, the application programming interface. That is a whole lot. That is what we will be learning in 24 weeks. So take a breath. We are not tackling all of that tonight. We're not even tackling any of that this week. This week's all about the development big picture. It's about understanding project requirements. It's about talking about the SDLC. I love that got mentioned tonight, the software development lifecycle. There is more to coding than just writing code. In fact, that is only one piece of, I think, 7 of the software development lifecycle. So we'll be learning more about that tomorrow. And we'll also be learning about wireframing. Where do we start? Believe it or not, starting with a blank text file is not the best place to start for writing our code. Best place for writing our code is, and kicking off any project, is for understanding project requirements and creating a visual before we start diving into our code. So we'll be focusing on that tomorrow and on Wednesday. And then Open Hack, you get to take everything that you've learned in the plethora of all 3 days that you've been here, and get to socialize a little bit, get to learn about what other developers do in the Syracuse area and kind of go from there. Any questions? I promise I do not talk this much every night. I promise it will get much more hands-on. This is pretty much the most that I lecture out of all 90 some classes over the next 24 weeks. Everything does get to be much more hands-on from here on out. What's that? 96 minus holidays. Well, Memorial Day and Juneteenth and Labor Day and 4th of July, we're off the whole week, so that doesn't count.
So.
All right. Couple things to wrap up, and you guys can get out of here. First of all, any other terms other than the spreadsheet that we did? Any terms that you guys learned tonight that you want to capture and have defined? Yeah. Syntax, great one. Syntax. Every programming language has their own syntax. Think of it as the grammar to your code. The symbols used will communicate with the computer using the standard syntax of the language. Think, and we can do some common symbols there. Ampersands. I think that's most of them. Oh, parentheses. We won't use $ in any of the languages we're using. Oh, well, I guess we will for template literals.
Okay. That's
Oh, backticks. Whoops. That makes absolutely no sense to you. Do not worry. Those are all things that you might not even know where on your keyboard those are. That's fine. We'll work our way up to that. Other terms that we may have used tonight that we want to capture in a definition. Full stack. The front end, back end, and don't ask me if there's a space between front end and back end. It's widely contested. Back end and database components that make up any multi-user web application. At the end of the course, you'll have the training to consider yourselves a full stack developer or engineer. That's a rant for another day. Other terms. And I am checking chat and Zoom in case anyone remote wants to throw anything in or come off mute.
for the symbols, front slash, like forward slash, back slash.
That all kind of falls in syntax. Yeah, that's I'll put it in parentheses here, symbols. That will come over time. Anything else for terms? Okay. So when just pause this for 1 second in Slack. Come on. Hello, Slack. Would you like to work for me? There we go. Okay. Switch this. Okay. In your Slack, you should see over here on the left side 2 channels. One that says CIC student C5. That is going to have all of your instructors in it, including me. That's going to have all your TAs in it. That is the channel that you should post in. There are already a couple resources in here, which is fantastic. Thank you for sharing them. This channel, if I mention something during class, I will probably drop it in here. That is the main channel with everyone in it. There should also be a CIC student C5 back channel. That is a channel that I will leave the second that I get all 20 of you into it. That is what you'll use to bad talk me. That is where you'll be able to post and say, I have no idea what he's talking about. That is where you can post and say, I want to meet up secretly. Anyone want to, meet up? That back channel is for you guys. And as soon as I leave it, you 20 are the only people that are in it, and I cannot see it at all. So use that for whatever you would like. We do find that our communities are fostered a little bit better when we shove you guys off in the direction and say, hey, you guys can post here. Working on homework assignments together, trying to get a time to meet up at some location, whatever it is, you guys are welcome to use that however you would like. If you are not in one of those 2 channels, please come down to your direct messages, click on the little plus button and type in my name. My name, and down here, you can say, heads up, I'm not in one of those 2 channels. and I will get you added into those channels so you can see it. There's no way you can add yourselves because they're private channels. The public cannot get access to them. So shoot me a message in Slack if you do not see CST student C5 and the back channel, and I will make sure to get you added into both of them. The other thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do, which I did not do until today's email, is get your profile set up. So over on the top left-hand side here, if you click on this little icon that shows up, I'm sorry, top right-hand side, I swear I know what signs I'm talking about, and go down to profile. Click on the edit button here, and a couple things. You should set your display name to whatever name you would like me and your fellow students to call you in class. Please don't use a username there. Please use whatever name or nickname you would like to be called. Pronouns are here. I thought I set them earlier. I don't know why they didn't save. If you go by different pronouns than what's standard, feel free to load them up in there. We'll try and use them. It's a learning curve, but I will try. Your name recording, you don't want to do right now, but when you get home, just record your first name so I know how to pronounce it. And then for the fun part, try and spell your name phonetically. Did my best in there, and upload a profile photo. So I think it's 4 things: display name, your pronouns, your name recording, your phonetic pronunciation, and your profile picture. 5 things I like. Try and get those set in. I will listen to name recordings. I will, normally around week 3 that I get much better with your names, like Zona can attest. As soon as we go fully virtual and I can see your name associated with like your little square in Zoom, I will memorize all of your names. I will get your name pronunciation right. Call me out on it if I don't, please. But Slack is the go-to where I can not only hear, your recording of your name, but also see it spelled out phonetically. That is a major, major help to me. Names are important. I will get them down. Just give me until week 3 if you don't mind. Okay, that is Slack. That is the channels on the side. Last thing, and this is really hard to share virtually, but we need to make sure that your computer is set up properly for screen sharing so that when we do go fully virtual, I can remote into the computer. I cannot ever remote in without your permission. So in Zoom, I'm going to ask you guys to share your screen frequently during class. In order to do that, you have to click the share screen button. You'll have to hit desktop 1 or desktop 2 with your second monitor plugged in. You'll hit the share button, and then you'll get a little pop-up from me that says, do you want to allow remote access? And if you hit allow on that, that's what will allow me to move around your cursor. So I can't just like pop into your screen. I can't just see what's on it at any time. You explicitly have to start the screen share and give me remote access in order for me to have that level of control. Trust me, you're going to want to throw your computer out a window on some of these stupid error messages. That's why we use screen sharing and the remote control to be able to get through that. To get that set up, you're going to go to Apple and go down to System Settings. From there, you are going to scroll down and go to Privacy and Security. It's Apple from the top left down to System Settings. And then Privacy and Security over here on the sidebar. If you are new to Mac, 2-finger scroll is going to be your friend. So you take 2 fingers down on the trackpad, click up or down, and that's how you're going to scroll. From here, you're going to scroll down to screen recording, about halfway down the list. And hopefully you should have Zoom showing in the list. Does anyone not have Zoom in the list?
I don't have a Zoom at all.
Okay, if you do not have Zoom, go download Zoom. So in order to do that, you're going to just do a Google search for Zoom download. Oh, if you don't have Chrome, you should also install Chrome. We'll be using that. It's another thing, sorry. If you do a search for Zoom download, go to the download center. And then you're gonna want to do this download from Zoom option. And what? Why did it put me on Android?
Quick question, is it Zoom.us? Is that the name of
It
the-
is,
okay.
yep. Yeah, it's a weird, okay, sorry. If you're on Google, don't follow the first link to the download center. Follow the link to the downloading the Zoom desktop client and mobile app. And then you can go down and click on the download center. And then you want to download this Zoom desktop client. I lied, you don't. See this right? Or on Macs with Apple Silicon chips, click here to download. That is the link that you want, that tiny little here button. I'm gonna pause there just for a second. I know everyone remote probably has this done already. Yeah, that's fine.
See, they,
It's fine.
all of us back here. This person's start, she hasn't, yeah, I like, she'll film. So that's. Just switched it, put it like this. How would you flip through? No, it's not.
Okay. The three computers that were left over the last couple were manually updated to put them next year. So it's like, we were right now. They're supposed to come. I mean, we literally ordered these. last Thursday. There's a big fact that I get lost. Okay, so if you don't have a sidebar,
I have another question. So once we get into the Slack for Hack Upstate, will it, if we download it, will it just right now, we launch it, will it just pop up into our account on, like, once we have the app downloaded?
once you have the app downloaded, you put in your email address and it sends you a link. And when you click on the link, it will sign you in and then it will be linked between your phone and your computer. So if you don't have this sidebar looking thing and you just have rows of icons, just look for the privacy and security in system preferences. So our goals right now are to get Zoom installed and to get Zoom in privacy and security turned on under screen recording. If you have that done, let me just make sure. Yeah. There's one other thing. You also need to turn Zoom on under accessibility. So screen recording and under accessibility, if you have Zoom turned in, turned on both of them, you are good to go. And that goes virtually as well. You guys can head out. Otherwise, we're going to spend the rest of the class just making sure that you guys are all set up for remote. Not now. So there's another accessibility. Go over on and then under accessibility here. And yeah, now turn on full screen.
Yeah, I have that. I'm sorry, I'll see it. Right? Awesome, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I really thought. No, I'm talking like, oh, yeah, I'm going to front seat or like. all the work not- I'm down there.
You guys are welcome to set up or head out once you have them both set up. If you have not updated your operating system, please update your OSs, sometime this week before last night. Totally my bad that that was not done.
Good night, everyone.
Under-
So screen recording,
Screen recording on and then still under privacy, there's accessibility section. Yeah, that's good. And then hit the back and then accessibility. Yep, and turn that on and you're good to go. So how do you update your OS? That's good. I should.
That's the first All right, nice.
Have a good day.
I think he mentioned on how accidentally. You can do that out, well, you can have the two settings set now. Oh, okay. Yeah, that you might want to just start at home, because the guest effort here is pretty slow.
Yeah, don't do it. Take forever, you know.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right, see you.
The document desktop are two separate things. So if you want to do my comments, go on.
Are you able to log in to? Okay. That's
So.
Let's do that, just to make sure that you're all set to go, and also.
I go, if you wanted to. Actually. So that's what I'm going to do. One is, but if you go, they're kind of multiple ways of creating icon or launching applications. You can go to Launchpad, which is all of your applications. Or you can add items to the doc, from here, or you could create an icon on the desktop.
So, and then that's your. No.
Let me. And then. All center stage for you and see if that does what
Now you have,
that's.
so that's your channel, you have your own channel, so now you have here, you're on hacker season. See how these.
That. It's a learning curve that. You can get over.
So, add channel, but it's browse channel. And here's where you go.
Well, okay, so let's get.
Okay, so. Search more filters, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back. Say that. Say the max, you want me to go with 5 channel.
Hey, Max,
Yes.
can you add both of us to 4 or 5 channel live stream?
We don't have a live stream, but we do have, can you go up on my laptop, go into Slack and add whoever you need to.
Amberlynn, right?
So.
Now you're all set. That weren't already.
But
And then the last thing we're gonna do.
So.
Yeah, no, like I was telling you.
So.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, it's like a whole community.
That's what we.
It's like I know.
And
that's
switch to that by ten.
But.
Work like.
Yeah.
It did on single window.
Yeah.
You're gonna have multiple windows opening, and then you can just switch between that or. Click whatever.
Amberlynn, I just added you to both. So both the student backend channel and then just the student 5 channel. Okay, no problem.
Yes, again, especially. File.
Well, I appreciate it. That's why in person. is better.
There you go. Okay, this, for this next. Backend. All of them. No problem. Slack, we're good, Canvas, we're good, Zoom, we're good. No problem. Have a good night. No, we're good now. Hey. No, we're good. Yeah.
But fine. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow. Good night. Same time, same place.
Well, hopefully be earlier. It's a,
That's fine for you.
okay, cool, thank you. I added her to both C5 and C5 backend.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Does anyone remotely need help?
I do. I think I need to be added to both of the channels, but I'm not sure. When I set up my Slack, when I downloaded Slack, it kept asking me like what's the name of my company or team. And then like
Okay.
let me get past that screen. So
I do have.
I don't know if I did something wrong or
Yeah, so you have to join from the Hack Upstate website. Let me.
so I
see.
went to the website and then I went to the menu bar, clicked on Slack,
No way. Yeah.
and then
Yes.
downloaded it from there.
So you have to create an account from the Hack Upstate website.
Okay.
So if you go to, let me share my screen. And you go to Slack here. Oh, it's not gonna do what I wanted. Hold on. So here you're going to do continue with either Google or your email.
Okay.
Sorry, I realized my camera's in the wrong spot.
Mm,
So if you do continue with email, this is where you're going to create your email and name, and that will put you into the Hack Upstate specific Slack.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not working.
Okay. It's sending me a code. 1 minute here.
You can use it for everything. Okay. It says it on this email. Yeah, I don't know why it's not on here. Okay, yeah, okay, so we're just gonna have him do it, because clearly, it's not working, I don't know what.
Do you know-
Okay. Now I have it. So
Right, meaning.
There you go. Now I've got you added in, so you should be able to see CIC student C5.
yes.
Beautiful. Anything else I can help you with?
So the C5 is the student is the main channel that we use to communicate with you. And then
Correct.
the other channel should show up as what on my computer?
Back channel, and I just added you to it.
Okay.
I would just do for him, because I'm not trying to-
Yes, I see both of them.
Perfect. Then you should be all set.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Goodbye.